All right, welcome back. It's part 2 of GameSense episode 7. We're here with 2 new guests. We have Naveed Shaffa and Sean McNulty. Naveed is from Team 1983. He'll be talking about the PNW. Sean is from Team 25. He'll be talking to us about Mar. So, Naveed, why don't you introduce yourself to our viewers?
All right. Hi, guys. I'm Naveed Shaffa. I started as a rookie in 2008 on Team 1983, and I did mechanical and design, and I primarily work in machining in these later years and mentoring. I've been working with our sponsor, Omax, and we now have our own water jet, so that's been really cool. I like big toys.
Yeah.
All right, thanks, Naveed, for joining us. Naveed also is the Naveed that does our Rebel Weather forecast with Dave. So, Sean, why don't you introduce yourself?
Sean McNulty, drive team coach at 25, and I am a flight attendant, so I'm not your typical looking flight attendant.
Oh, wow. I actually did not know that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. We're excited to have both of you on the show today, and we will jump right into it. Our first thing on the docket is going to be Naveed, and he's going to be talking to us about the new PNW district tracking website and the possibility of unifying districts going forward. And I think to start us off, we actually have a video that Naveed put together for us, so why don't we roll that video?
Hi, I'm Naveed from FRC GameSense, and I'm going to show you how to use some of the features of the new FRC District Ranking System website. To go there, simply type in the site address, district.firstwa.org. This is the home page, where you can see any site notifications and districts. Down here, you can see available district rankings. This year, it's just the Pacific Northwest. You can either click on this, or go to the rankings page, and select the districts there. Here, you'll be able to see the live rankings even during events. It shows a team's current points, team number and name, and individual event scores. You can hover over an event, and it will pop up with the event name. Or, you can click on that to view more about that team's performance at a specific event. You can also see a team's current status for district championships or world champs, and if they've declined or not. The key is at the bottom. An S means scheduled to play an upcoming event, IP, event in progress, and DI, declined invitation to an event. You can also see a team's rookie bonus here. By hovering over the points, a pop-up will show you the team's rookie year. Let's check out a team page. By clicking on the team, you can see the breakdown of the score for the event. And below, the match results, alliance selection results, elimination performance, and awards. It will show all events for said team, as well as the rookie bonus again at the bottom. Let's take a look at an event page. Here, you can view an event's entire results. This includes rankings, awards, alliance selection, qualification, and elimination match results. On the scoring page, you can review the point system and see a breakdown of each type, as well as the tie-breaking system. It also provides information on how a team qualifies for the district championship and the world championship. That's about all. If you have any questions or corrections, see the contact page. The website has seen a lot of updates and added features over the course of the season, and they're constantly working to improve it. It works great in any browser as well as on mobile devices. Make sure to send any questions or corrections to the development team. Hopefully this site will be coming to a district near you soon.
All right, welcome back. Thanks, Naveed, for putting that together. Is there anything you'd like to add about the website?
Yeah, I'd like to first thank Paul Malmsten and Alex Harade for doing all of the programming for it. I think it looks really good, and I think it's going to be really exciting when we get all of the districts incorporated in there. It looks a lot better than the live Excel spreadsheets or ones you have to download or the little embedded PDFs on the websites, and
Hey man, we love those embedded PDFs. Come on.
yeah, this is a little bit cleaner, and I think it's a nice conjoined website where everything will be posted, and it'll be easier to keep up with what's going on live.
It does live update now during an event, which is super cool. You can see, let's say going into eliminations, you can go pull up a team and see where they are, how many points they have already. Where does it update the global list live as well?
Yeah, in fact now it's also pulling the awards from First HQ too, so you have those.
Yeah, it's been pretty awesome. So let's just jump right into the PNW District Championship, and I believe Evan is going to start us off with that one.
Yeah, I'm really excited for this. For one, I'm a little bit new to the Pacific Northwest. I came from California originally, then went to Massachusetts, then spent some time in Indiana, finally ended up out here. So I've seen a lot of different regions of first, but Pacific Northwest has never really been thought of as a first hotbed, as one of the really strong areas. And I think the district system, for one, is really going to change that. But I'm super excited to see district championships because I think having all of the top teams, and we have quite a few teams that have really stepped up their game this year, in one place, it's just going to be really impressive and really inspiring, and a great way for everybody to network. So I'm super excited about that. There's a couple teams that I want to mention, and I want to start off with Shockwave. You cannot get away without mentioning 4488. They were rookies last year and going to the championship on a Rookie All-Star, Curie Rookie All-Star winners, and then they came out this year with the best robot in the Pacific Northwest. It's just an amazing machine, and it looks great. It performs great. It's they've got a 2-ball hot auto,
as well as a 3-ball,
and a 3-ball auto. There's a phenomenally consistent shooter, won both of their district events, top of their rankings. They would be top of the rankings without their 5-point second-year team bonus. And they're on top of their game right now. I don't think they're going to slow down, and they're certainly the favorite going into Pacific Northwest Championship. There's some great teams from Oregon in addition to them. 1425 Error Code 0. I remember back when I was in high school, they were one of the top teams that I knew of out of Pacific Northwest. In 2007, they had a great year winning Las Vegas, and then they kind of dropped off a little while. They had some rough times, and the last 2 years they've been back at it. They've got a cool wheeled shooter, really interesting robot, and their holonomic drive again. So those are kind of my two highlight teams from Oregon. 1425 and 4488. They actually won an event together, and they're just playing fantastically this year. Naveed, I know you've got a couple teams.
2811. Yeah, 2811 is my other Oregon highlight there. They're not quite at that same level as the rest of them are, but they've been constantly improving. And I definitely started noticing them the last couple of years, and they've got a crew of engineering students as well as mentors who are really serious about getting to that next level. And the Stormbots came out. They have what looks a lot like a 2008 Symbot clone as far as how it works. They were struggling to get their collector working at their first event, but by this last event at OSU, they were looking really good, and they ended up winning it with error codes. So I think they're going to be great at district champs, and I definitely think they'll either be a late first pick or a very early second.
That's one of the things that really I'm looking forward to seeing. It really scares me about district championships. Same way as in Michigan, all of these teams that were top first-round picks at districts, they're not all going to be top first-round picks at the district championship.
Right.
Some of them are going to end up being third-round picks, and that is going to be some really scary alliances. And it's just an incredibly deep field. We're not going to get a chance to talk about all the good teams in the Pacific Northwest just because there's so many of them that are going to be there, and we don't have time. Certainly, there's some great chairman's teams. And some of them also performed really well. 2046 Bare Metal, and our own team, 1983 Skunkworks. I know we started off a little rough. went on to be the #1 pick and winners at the Auburn District. 2046 Bare Metal came out of the gate blasting. They were the second pick on winners at Auburn Mountain View in week 1. Made some modifications to their robot that didn't quite work out at their second event. Had some electrical problems at their third event, and they still made finals. It was a little unfortunate that they weren't quite working in the finals matches. They had some electrical issues that had them dead for a little while. But when they work, man, they're fast and they're on fire.
And they've got a 2-ball, too. If they get that fixed, that's going to help them in seeding a lot.
Yeah, I expect them to have those electrical problems fixed. I know they identified some of them at the end of Auburn, and they're going to be a monster force at the district championship.
Now, can I just interject real quick?
Yep.
As somebody who's outside the region, I know a lot of these teams because you've talked about them, and we've been doing things for a while. What do you think? Are these teams going to start showing up more on the national stage in the next few years?
Absolutely.
I do. We've got a lot of really strong young teams. I mean, Shockwave brought that last year. They weren't really a rookie. We've got these teams that we call rookie only by number. Shockwave started, they had 57 years of mentor experience last year when they were rookies. We also have 4911, the Cyber Knights, who were last year's FTC World finalists. And they decided, hey, let's do FRC this year. And they did pretty good. They won at Glacier. They were in the quarters at Shorewood. They got the Rookie All-Star and Inspiration this year. They were in the semis at Auburn, and they've got a great, simple design, but they drive it smart. We've got a few other relatively young teams that are doing really well this year. 4125 Confidential. They won out at Eastern, got Engineering Inspiration, and then went on to get the district chairmans at Central, as well as playing in the quarters there. The robot itself is a little bit different. They've got a hammer that comes down to hit the ball, but it's pretty effective, and they work really well with others. And then another one,
very consistent.
Evan, you want to talk about 4061?
Yeah, the Cyborgs. It's definitely a very different robot. They've got kind of a standard bar roller collector, but it's mounted on a 4-bar linkage. A nice motion there. And then their shooter is, I don't really know how to describe it, but it's mounted on a pivot, and it's basically 4 bungees with an X web, and they just crank it back and punch. And it's got a great shot. They've got a 2-ball auto. They won Eastern District as the #1 draft pick, and then they went on into 3 finals matches, ended up losing in final match 3 at Central. Some great students on that team, some great mentors on that team, and they're another one of the up-and-coming teams. I also want to mention that we have a lot of really strong first and second year teams along with that, not just with robots, but also, as Naveen mentioned, 4125 Confidential, they won Chairman's Award this year. 4488 Shockwave, they're a second-year team, they won Chairman's this year. 4911, the rookies, Cyber Knights that we mentioned, coming from FTC, they won Engineering Inspiration.
Awards.
No, they won Engineering Inspiration at their first event because they've been in first and had the sustained program. They made the switch to FRC, and they were awarded with it. And so there's some absolutely incredible teams here in the Pacific Northwest, not just from robot performance, but also from a whole team and first perspective. And it's really exciting to see that.
Now, can I just butt in real quick? I know that you guys don't want to talk about it because you're members of this team, but we can't leave 1983 out of this discussion, despite the fact that you guys are on it. And as an impartial figure, I'll say something about them. The robot has a really, really, really good collector. They drive it well. The shooter is effective, and when I first saw it, it is so cool how it shoots. I don't think I've seen quite anyone do it the same way. The collector the bottom face of the collector is the shooting surface. And the way that you shoot is so cool with the way that you sort of back out the slack. If you guys are going to the PNW championships, you should definitely take a look at it. And don't forget, as you've said before, you guys are also, or Team 93 is also a team that does first well outside of robots as well. You guys have won, 93 has won multiple Chairman's Awards in the regional system. They won a Chairman's Award at their first district event. And in my opinion, they're a favorite to win at district championships. So we'll see. But that's just my. I don't want to shaft 1983 because you guys are on the show. That's for sure.
Yeah, to
Well,
speak to
thanks for the kind
archetypes.
word, Francis.
To speak to archetypes, 1983 is one of those middle-playing robots from the Pacific Northwest, and I think they're the best middle-playing robot. They've got a high release, they've got a variable shot, so they can make it to the human player from almost anywhere within the white zone. And I think that that's actually kind of a rarity in the Pacific Northwest to see those trussing robots.
Absolutely.
I think all around in general, too, California has quite a few. I know Sean had said that MAR doesn't have too many dependable trussers, and it seems to be a much more niche role than I thought it would be. And I think we do it really well. I also definitely want to mention Soda. I'd be remiss if we didn't. 2557. They were in the semis at Auburn Mountain View week 1. They went and they were in the finals at Eastern, and then they went to the semis again at Shoreward. But they were finalists twice this year, and they look good. They've got a collector that they used to keep out almost all the time, but after the G2728 changes, they bring it up a little bit more now. But they've got this little guy for a human player.
Yes.
Oh, that's the best part. They've got this really
He is one of the
dependable
best human
shot.
players
Yeah.
I've seen.
He
really
but,
is.
Like, he's got hops. I mean, that guy just jumps
man.
up like 4 feet to grab that ball, but he gets it like every time.
He gets it every time. Yeah.
I think they get probably, in my mind, the credit for the first PNW team to really rely on the trust shot to the human player. They were the first team out here that I saw just do it in every single match and do it well. So.
Definitely. Another robot that's got a pretty good trust shot. It's a little bit shorter. 1318 IRS. They've got a really soft lob shot. Very short range. They shoot from right up on the low goal very consistently. But they also use it pretty effectively as a trust shot. They don't have quite the wide area that 1983 or 4488 or 2557
they're hard
has
to play
shoot
defense
from.
on.
They're really hard to play defense from. If they get to their spot, they're gonna shoot, and there's really nothing you can do to stop them. So a great robot there.
You know, one thing I also want to mention, this is something that's kind of new out here. I know defense is huge in New England, and we've got a lot of teams who really work on refining those drive bases, but the last few years what's been really getting to me is that people aren't really working on making new changes to the drive bases or even throwing more motors at it. When you've got them, why not? And we're starting to see, we saw the first couple 6-sim drive bases this year out in the Pacific Northwest. Arguably my favorite and the best out here at defense, 1595, the Dragons.
God,
they were brutal.
Incredible. Yeah.
So fast. They're the fastest robot in the PNW.
I mean, we're used to shoving people around, but there was one match I remember they drove up on us, they mounted us, and they were just shoving us around, and we were like, yep, we want to play with those guys. And they're going to be a great robot at district champs because of that. Another strong defensive robot, 2147 Chuck. They've got an interesting robot with their shooter system, the dual-wheeled shooters, and the way their collector and the lift-up to bring the ball up is similar to the Cheesy Poofs in the way that the geometry looks. But defense has definitely been their strong suit, and that helped them a lot, both at Spokane and at Auburn.
Everything about that robot is fast. The collector is fast, the shooter is fast, the drive base is fast. It's just fast, fast, fast. And because of that, they've actually had some trouble controlling all of it, and I think that's hurt them a little bit. But Naveed spot on. They inbound really well, and they just play defense. They play lights-out defense. So they're I'll be interesting to see if teams pick up on that at district championships, because they're one of those teams that if you don't scout well, you might miss them, and if they end up on a top seed alliance, watch out.
Now, can I just say real quick? I know a lot of these teams are new to people, like I said before. What do you think? What's the quality of these robots coming out of the district championship, going to the championship? Is it going to be as good as we see in Michigan, or is it going to be better than we've seen from PNW, or what are we looking at here?
Better
Definitely.
than we usually see.
Yeah, I wouldn't say we're necessarily at Michigan levels yet.
Right.
But I think the district system will definitely get the PNW quality up. The last couple years, we've really seen some great robots coming out of here. 948 with their full court shooter last season, and 1425, both of them making it into championship eliminations. 2471 Mean Machine 2 years ago. They were a steal of a second-round pick by the 1717 and 469 lines. We thought
And they've got their
going
swerve
Einstein.
figured out now.
They've got a fantastic swerve drive and a monster shot that I'm looking forward to seeing. So that another team to watch for. They won their first district event with Shockwave. They had some struggles at their second event, but I heard they figured some stuff out. So
they have, and
definitely.
it's a scary shot now. 488 is another one I really want to see. They've got a 3-ball. Yeah, we haven't seen that on the field yet. I've seen videos of it, and we know that they can do that, and we know that they've got a lot of really great potential, and they won an event already. But I'm excited to see what that thing can do at the district champs, and I think they'll be at that level at that point. So
yeah, and that's a 1678 style robot. So we know it can do well with an octogonum. So they've got the holonomic capabilities. So.
And a few more that'll.
I gotta tell you, I'm not a fan of mechanums or holonomic or whatever you want to call them. I've just never been a fan of those type of drives.
We got a ton out here that choose to do that, and some of them that have been working on it for a while, and there is certainly something to be said. If it's something you're comfortable with and you can get it done fast early in the season, then that works for you. But
yeah,
if you've got something,
been working on that drivetrain on and off in the off season for a while, and I think they've still got some bugs, but it's been working well for them. So we've got a few more teams. Naveed, if you want to just run through those real quick.
Through the numbers real quick. 25-22, great performance early in the season. 32-38, very unique side catapult. It's weird. You got to go check it out. 33-93, killed Auburn Mountain View, put up some high scores, did it again at Auburn, really reliable. 37-11, weird hoop rotating shooter. That's also really great. A few more out there, but those are the ones that definitely come to my mind.
Yeah, and many more that we just don't have time to mention.
Yeah, and I definitely agree with you guys. This is going to be the best competition we've ever seen in the Pacific Northwest. And I mean, we've had 4 regionals before, but not many teams used to go to 2 regionals out here, and so we never had an event where. So that's going to be the first time that ever happens out here, and I'm really excited to see what happens. Our list that we talked about is almost 20 teams again, so all those teams are going to be, that's going to be the eliminations alliances, and so that's going to be pretty great. And on 4061 shooter, I think it looks like an Airzuka, where you pull back the...
Yeah, you know what? That's
exactly
what it is.
That is exactly what it looks like.
Yeah, I don't think we had a video of that one, but you guys should go check it out. It's pretty cool. So with that, we'll move on to talking about transitioning all of FIRST to districts. I think we're going to start off with Mr. Francis.
Mr. Francis. All right, so if it wasn't... So FIRST has sort of said that this is kind of their plan. If you want to dig back into the FIRST archives, Bill, Frank mentioned on the... Okay, very good. Frank posted on one of his questions was... one of the questions he had during the Ask Frank segment is FIRST going to districts? And the answer is probably yes. And it's evidenced by the fact that we've got 2 brand new districts this year, one in New England and one in the Pacific Northwest. And that obviously brings up the question, who's next? And while we have no solid information, evidence suggests it's probably going to end up being in places like California. They've had a lot of new regionals pop up very quickly, and they have a lot of teams. Yeah. Minnesota has a huge amount of teams. You may not know it because they don't really show up on the national stage very often, but Minnesota's got 186 teams, which would, if they were a district, would put them to make the largest district behind Michigan. And then other places like... Go ahead.
Sorry, I want to interrupt here. Michigan's been holding a Michigan State Championship, I believe, for a couple years now. Not part of a district system, just
Minnesota, you mean?
Or Minnesota, sorry.
Yeah.
Minnesota State Championship, and and so they're definitely, I think, prepping for that.
Yep. Also, Ontario, they've added several new regionals in the last couple of years in venues that are very. If you know, there was I don't remember the name of it. Where was the? It was run at 610 School.
Crescent High School.
Crescent. Yep. That event was a regional. It was at a high school, which is something you rarely see, especially at a high school that was so small you couldn't let the outside public in. But so it'll be really interesting to see how we move into real districts. But what will be really interesting to see is what happens when we get into places like Oklahoma, where there are a certified number of teams. There's a regional there now, but there may not be what one would consider a district-sized number of teams.
Well, actually, Francis, one of the things that I was telling you guys yesterday, I just think that we should just open Pandora's gate and do the whole thing. Is everything should be a point system all the way across the board, and that would actually solve a lot of the problems, because even if they have just one event, you can turn around and run. They can run to another place to run there too, and get people to start accumulating points that way. And it would also help out with the imbalances in some of these districts that are not getting represented fairly.
Yeah, I think the big concern for a lot of places that aren't in districts right now or are very close to districts right now is the pocket areas where there's a low population of teams. There's not necessarily a more than one local event, and as the areas around them are transitioning into districts, it's kind of like, well, what about us? I know David has some info and some discussion on that if you want to mention those.
I actually talked to a few of our old pals from Idaho. They did really well, actually, this weekend. Shout out to the Taters, 21-22, 21-30, and 31-45. All of them did awesome this weekend. And I know for them, some of them, it was tough to come out here, and they made it work in the past. They came out to the Oregon event, and when Spokane started, they came out there. Back in the day, they were in Seattle, too. But it becomes difficult. Traveling to two of those events, they can make that happen. It's expensive, but asking them now to go to a third event back again in Portland is asking a lot, especially when we didn't have any events out there. And I was talking with Glenn a little while ago. I asked him for a little bit of his thoughts on it, and he said...
Wait, Naveed, who's Glenn? Who's Glenn?
That's
Glenn,
Glenn
from 359.
Glenn from 359.
Oh, yes, of course.
There's only one Glenn in first, guys.
I know Glenn, but maybe some of our viewers don't. I know of Glenn, I should say. We're not BFFs or anything, but continue to sorry.
He's Waialua 359 on CD. Yep. Said they've been in discussion with Jim Beck on the thoughts of participating in California's district. And for them, that's going to be really tough, and it's been a pretty poor response so far because most of those teams in Hawaii could barely afford the one regional as it is. And there's only like 4 or 5 teams that do mainland U.S. events. And so, I mean, it would be relatively easy to set up a few district events out in Hawaii, but then what would you do with a state championship? And that's the problem there. Traveling is just way too expensive and extremely improbable, and it's going to keep getting worse. They already saw a bunch of teams coming there this year from Singapore, China, Australia, Taiwan. I mean, it's spreading in the Pan-Pacific, and I know them and 368 and a few of those teams would love to do as many events as possible. He said if he could go to MAR, PNW, or FIM, he'd be doing 6 events a year if he could, just because that's how committed some of these teams are that are on the outskirts. And I really hope that we're able to fairly represent them as a region and allow them to get the same experience that we're getting.
Well, and I actually thought about that because I know we had a little discussion about this yesterday, and I think one of the answers might be is to guarantee someone like Hawaii X amount of spots, even though if they can only get to one event. So then the one event will represent, 2 events would represent a MAR or, having to go to state championships. And you could still get those in, but overall we'll still be able to level out the spots versus giving one regional, 6 spots, 7 spots in some of these instances for different things they're winning. Rookie All-Star, Rookie Inspiration, Chairman's, Engineering Inspiration, 3 winner spots. They may not be guaranteed as much, but they'll be able to guarantee so much. But that way we can start leveling out the field because championships really needs to be to show off your robot. And if people are saying, well, it's about the experience, well, great, go have the experience and go show off a chairman's award. But I still think that we need to start getting to the point where it should be very difficult to make your pick in a division, not easy, or saying to yourself, oh, I got messed over by the Serpentine. And that's what we're happening right now with a lot of these events.
Yeah, and the wild card is kind of a stopgap method, but it only helps for finals, and only in certain circumstances. Double qualifying at the same event doesn't generate a wild card, so it's an improvement, but it's a limited improvement. And I remember, Jim isn't in the call anymore, Jim Zondag, but he was saying there really isn't a requirement to have a district championship. It's a nice thing to have. It presents an intermediate level of play. But, there's no necessity within this point system that you have to have a district championship in order to have that qualify you for the world championship. So for some of these pocket regions, that might be the best solution. Not to have another event, but to have a couple of districts and then take the aggregate rankings and, and
Yeah.
Sign me up.
There you go. All right. Well, I think it's about that time to move us on to our last district championship of the night, Mar.
But not
so
least.
Sean, definitely not least. Sean, why don't you kick this off for us?
Oh, Mar's been a tough year. I actually stated in probably about 4 or 5 weeks ago on Chief Delphi that the weather had massively affected the Mar teams. And then people came right out and told me no, and it didn't do anything. Well, I'm here to say they're absolutely out of their mind. It affected Mar. Mar is not producing the teams that they have been producing in the past. So there are some really great teams, and there's some standouts, and I wanted to give some of these guys credit. Clearly without a doubt, one of the perennial teams, Powerhouse, now is 2590. They have now done it year after year after year, and their number one ranking is not an accident. They are that good. They are the only team that I've seen that knows that they're hitting the hot goal with 2 balls, which is a huge advantage for them. And they play solid. Meredith does not make mistakes at all mentally when you're playing the game, so you have to beat them another way. You have to go around and find other teams to pick on because they're not the team that's going to make that mistake. They're the ones. They're just very, very solid, and there's no question if they go to championships, which I think they should be ready to rock and roll to go there, they are the team, one of the teams to be picked to go into the playoffs. Another really decent team this year is H69. I really like what they're doing, even though they got Omni wheels. God, Omni wheels, I'm not a huge fan of them. But they have a pretty solid shooter, and they do have a pretty good pickup. I do think they need to work on a few bugs per se on execution. The most improved team that I've seen so far is 1218. They weren't so hot in their first event, but they are definitely picking up, and that just shows their experience as a team. And then my team that I think, no question, should be a steal at championships if they go, is 1640. I think they're really, really, really underrated right now. They're a very, very, very good team, and I'm much looking forward to seeing them at Mar Champs. And I can't wait to see what they do at Real Champs. I actually think they have a chance of making another big run at World Championships.
Yeah, they have they have a shooter that's much like that air cannon as well, don't they? With 4 elastics and it punches it in the center.
Yeah, and they're quick, and that's another thing that was driving me nuts was the trussing. So a lot of teams are lining up and they're getting themselves ready, and I'm yelling, "Trust the ball." It's not like you have to be super accurate, and so a lot of teams are taking so long. Intakes are not as good as I expected them to be. There are good teams; they're getting better, but a lot of teams are having issues with getting a ball in, and then it stayed in the robot, and it never came out. And you're sitting there looking at them, and you're going, "There's only one game piece, guys. Let's let's get that ball out and start running it around."
Sean, how much of that do you think is ball inflation variance? Is a lot of teams I know. There were some early week problems, even with top teams like 624, where they just weren't expecting balls to be quite as overinflated as they ended up being.
In our first event, we definitely had a huge problem with overinflated balls, and it was actually just one side. It was the side that we were on for the finals. Granted, both the robots that we were playing with broke, so we really can't blame it on ball inflation, but we had them actually take air out because it was so overinflated. Our robot fits the ball in no problem. If you see a ball stuck in our robot, it's because the ball's overinflated. And it's just, because we made a variance that it was well over an inch wider, so that the ball would go out with no problem.
Yeah, when you start getting square balls, it's a problem.
Yeah,
when you see it ready to bust out of the seams, it's too ball.
Or when it starts looking more square than round.
Yeah,
exactly.
It starts to look like an orbit ball. You're in trouble.
Yeah.
I don't want to see those again.
Yeah, I love them. They're great. There's a couple of teams I wanted to give a shout out to for improving. I'm just going on my cheat sheet here. Definitely 39-29. They are playing solid. They're definitely improving so much. Their driving is improved, which has made them look 10,000 times better than their first event. A team that shocked me at the last event, I went and just watched, and it was helping other teams out. 1403. 1403 is the absolute prime example that the weather hurt them. because as they were going along with the last event, they were hitting a 2-ball autonomous. And it was a very solid 2-ball autonomous that will absolutely make them a contender at Mar Championships. My favorite Scrapper Award goes to 193. Any team that can go out there 2v3 and still scrap a win, you absolutely get put on the checkmark list.
That was such an incredible match to watch. I must have watched it 2 or 3 times just to try and figure out how they pulled that off.
Which match is this, just so our viewers can check it out?
So
it was the finals match, week 5. I don't know what off the top of my head the name of it.
I think it was
Woodbridge, right? No, Bridgewater.
Bridgewater. That's right. Yeah.
Bridgewater. And so they did really good. And my award for smartest coach goes to 708. And that was actually in, I think, match 11 for us at Lenape. And so as we're going around, and there's all these what-if scenarios you could put out there, the ball kind of got away, and these guys backed up into the correct zone so that we could pass, so we can get the triple assist. He totally understood where he needed to be. And that's kind of the biggest issue that I guess I'm seeing this year, is that most teams are not paying attention to understanding where they have to be or who's touched the ball where. And this is where the whole argument with the super coach and yada, yada, yada. And if teams realize, hey, the first team touched it, the next team that touches it, they should be touching both zones before they pass it off, and then the third team touches it, you're going to guarantee yourself the full 30 points for the assists, which is what I think most teams should be doing.
That's definitely an issue that we've seen everywhere. I know we've seen it Pacific Northwest. You guys have seen it at MAR. We've seen it at regionals too. Is just some teams just kind of miss the fundamental understanding of this game, and certainly one of the problems that we've seen with districts is that the events are so small that you don't often have a lot of the top teams at any given event, and so I expect it'll be less of a problem at the district championships, but still, having to go over with all of your alliance partners, this is how an assist works. This is not an assist. This is an assist. You need to be here. It's a complicated scoring system for anybody to understand, even if they have read the rules once or twice, and we've seen that, unfortunately.
How many auto balls get trussed? Ugh.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, there was. I think I saw a match from Dallas in even eliminations match where an auto ball got passed along trust, not accumulating any assists because it's still an auto ball, and it probably was a good 30 or 40 seconds in the match before they finally cleared it, and they got 10 points because none of that was accumulating any score. So, just fundamental understanding of the game has been a problem everywhere, and it sounds like MAR has had their share of it too.
Well, they're getting, people are doing better. They're playing better. The additional matches are no question helping a lot of teams out. So where I was actually against the district model in the beginning, I absolutely like the fact that we're getting 2 sets or 2 regionals worth, because you can see a humongous difference between the first event and the next event, and it's only going to help teams out. So I do like the model where I kind of shunned it, but we do need to get to a point where we can travel again, because traveling is, you want to get out, you want to go see other teams. I only want to play the teams in New Jersey so many times. I play them all in the off seasons, and hopping in a car and driving somewhere would be a lot more beneficial to a lot of teams, especially if they want to try to make serious runs in the championships, because you build those relationships at those other events.
You start missing some of your old friends.
Yeah, that's definitely one of the concerns, I think, for a lot of the regions that are looking to go to districts is, you've got teams that are used to traveling all over, and all of a sudden, that's an issue. Whether and especially because there's not a good go between the regional and district system. Right now, if you go to a regional and you're from a district, and you qualify for the championship there, you are essentially taking away a spot. Now, I know the rules are a little bit mixed up on this, but if you qualify, you're guaranteeing that you are one of the X number, whether it's 32, 24, 18 teams from your district that's going to championships. Your spot doesn't get passed over, whether you qualified for district championships or not, whether you qualified for the world championship within your district or not. And, of course, teams outside of districts can't come in because there is not a translation system. And I think the first step to making this an easy process, as Sean mentioned, make the point system universal so you can make that translation, and now all of those problems can at least have some more parity to them, if not a complete solution.
Yep. One of the things that... Go ahead, Sean.
Sorry, go ahead. Well, one of the things that I think is a huge benefit, especially if you want to ever compete at the World Championship level, I mean, we've been to Las Vegas, we've been to Florida, we've been down to South Carolina. I love Metal in Motion, by the way. Those guys are just a great group of guys. And you have a chance to play and work with them so they understand who you are, because when you get to championships and people go to that third, and now this year, which I love, the fact that they have the fourth round pick, you have those teams going around going, you know, those guys, they're a solid team, and I know I can work with them. I know they'll listen to me. Where other times you turn around going, and you're asking a lot of other people, are they good guys to work with? Because we all know that there's those teams out there, you turn around and they've got the little black ball right next to their name because they don't play well with those. But it's hard to figure out who those people are or who they're not. And then sometimes you see if there's a chemistry. There are teams I've played with that are all-star elite teams, and when we went with them, we were flat. We just were two roosters in a hen house. It just didn't work. And that's a great way of being able to get a match in and play with these other teams without wasting an entire alliance where you just don't work together well, because these are really about the best alliances, not the best three robots to actually take this win.
Absolutely.
And I think it was a really smart move, not only because of it's nice to be able to pick who you want to play with, having a shot at picking your backup robot if you need one, but with a game as brutal as this and seeing as many matches as so many of us have seen, we might need to take our robot off the field for a match just to straighten something out or swap out a component, and not having to completely end your elimination run at champs there, that's certainly nice.
And you can game plan with them ahead of time, and that's a huge advantage, and it means the team actually has a fighting chance versus, let's see what the magical ball picks out of the lottery pool for the robots.
Yeah, I think it would have been really cool to have last year. Being able to pull in a blocker for one match or a round of matches and be able to have another third partner for...
Or a full court shooter
round.
If they don't have a blocker,
Would have been really cool. Been neat. Yeah, but we're starting to run low on time. I have one last question before we move on. In part one, we talked with Jim and Steve about what kind of play you think we'll see at Michigan and in New England, talking about heavy defense or heavy offense, high goals, low goals. What do you guys think we'll see in MAR and the PNW? I mean, I know it's so hard without knowing the alliances and everything. It's always different, but do you think they'll lean towards more defensive play, lean towards low goal play?
I think you're going to see a lot of the 987 hits going on. And you can watch that video all day long. It is, without a question, the best hit I've ever seen in first, and it was clean.
I hope Dave puts that up. It is beautiful.
It is the best hit I've ever seen in first.
And, you know, I think for us, it's so weird out here, like I was talking about earlier. Defense hasn't been super huge in the Pacific Northwest, and in part due to not having the beefy drivetrains you guys see out there. But I think this is going to be the most brutal it's ever been out here, and I think a lot of teams aren't going to really appreciate that till it happens.
Yeah, I think we're going to see a lot more defense than Pacific Northwest has ever seen. And I really, I think that a lot of the teams that have been used to shooting high without having a whole lot of trouble, some of them are going to run into issues. And the teams that have played against it and the teams that know it are the ones that are going to come to the top.
Mm-hmm. I think I mostly agree with you guys, but just to sort of counterpoint here, the one thing we got to understand is that although we've seen a lot of this play at district level, we're at the championship, and I think that we're going to see. I think we're going to see more softer, less 97 sort of style defense. I think that's my gut feeling. Now you guys are there in the trenches, so I trust your judgment, but I really hope that in the cockles of my heart, I really hope that's the case, because I really don't want to see anybody's robot get broke.
After watching Silicon Valley and Las Vegas and Windsor Essex this weekend, I just don't think so. Yeah. High level play is as every bit as brutal as the drive base on wheels play, and it's going to be rough. It is going to be rough. So hope your robots are ready, guys. Right,
and you're not going to see in any finals match, in my opinion, on any of the district events, 300-point matches. And I don't think you're going to see them in the final matches on any of the divisions or even Einstein. You're going to see nice, solid. You're going to see nice, solid defensive play, and you're going to see teams going out there and putting their balls up and scoring. But you're going to see 3 to 4 cycles. There's going to be enough defense to stop anything else. So you're going to have the 75 points plus those 3 to 4 cycles, and you need something to break it up or something to differentiate yourself. I'm just giving a hint to our robot. Anyway.
Shameless.
We saw some of that time differentiation. It almost had kind of a 2006-ish feel to it at SVR when 254 and 971 were going against Citrus Circuits and Kikamana, and it was really interesting to see because that was the first time I saw them score, but they were rotating positions too, and they were really coordinating together well. And I think that kind of elimination play is really interesting, and it adds a level of depth to this game because we haven't seen that before, this coordination and rotation of positions, and I think that was really cool.
Yeah, well, Sean brought it up. Champs predictions. I think it's about time we head on to our very last point of the day. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. It's been an awesome show. It's been such a pleasure to have all 4 of our guests on tonight. Next week, unfortunately, or fortunately, we're not going to have a show. So no show next week, but stay tuned. I know. Enjoy your district championships. Take a little break. Practice with those practice robots before champs. We're going to be putting together a 2-hour special on April 21st. It's a Monday again, so 2 weeks from today, we're going to be doing a 2-hour championship show. We're going to break it into 2 separate shows. So from 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, we're going to be talking about Curie and Archimedes. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to have 4 guests, hopefully 1 from each division. We're trying to kind of plan it out as best we can without knowing divisions yet, but that's the plan. And then from 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific, we'll be talking about Newton and Galileo. It's going to be similar to the show we did tonight, but we'll be talking about championships divisions. We hope you all enjoyed the brand new graphics we displayed today. Our new ability to show websites and videos while we're still talking is awesome. I also forgot to mention before that we actually have a whole new setup tonight, and Dave from our Robo Weather Forecast is our producer on the show now, and he has done an awesome job. Thank you so much to Dave for doing that.
Yeah,
it takes a lot of pressure off of me for sure. Now I get to talk and not have to worry about all the overlays at the same time, but it also gives us the capability of doing a lot more fancy things and gives us some more expansion capabilities in the future. So thanks again to Dave and to Julie from 1983 who helped us out with the overlays. We can't thank you enough. We think they look great. We're so excited about our new look. And Jim, Naveed, Sean, and Steve, you guys were awesome. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure. And to you guys for watching. We hope you enjoyed the show. We hope you like the new format, and we want to hear from you. We want to know if you liked things, if you didn't like it. We want to hear your questions, maybe about championships coming up. So you know how to contact us at FRC GameSense on Twitter, frcgamesense@gmail.com. Like us on Facebook. Stay tuned on Chief Delphi. We'll be posting all our announcements for our Champs show. And go play robots. Let's have a great championships weekend, district championships weekend. So,
yeah. Good luck,
bye,
everybody.
Yeah, good luck.
Yeah.
I'll see you. Look, what's in the bag?